This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Now, I'm currently recording this video in that kind of no man's land between Christmas and New Year. I think it's the 29th. Yes, it is the 29th today. You know how you lose track of all kind of what day or date it is in this particular period. Anyway, I've got time on me hands and me mind starts wandering, and I think I've noticed something of an oddity in the pricing structure of a certain brand of guitars. Here's what I mean. Okay then, let's take a look at some guitars from the big three companies. I'm talking obviously of Fender, PRS and Gibson, and what we're really looking at here is the price differentials between the three main ranges, like the entry-level range, the mid-price range, and the full-fat kind of USA-made guitars. And in the case of Fender, we're looking here first of all at the Squier Affinity Stratocaster. Now, the reason I chose this guitar as an example is because as a guitar teacher, I would say that if somebody pitches up for a guitar lesson with me and they've got a Squier Strat, it is almost inevitably the Affinity series guitar. Okay, you do see the odd classic vibe or maybe the odd bullet or contemporary, but usually if somebody's got a Squier Strat, it is going to be the Affinity. That's the one I see most of, and as you can see, £189 is what it costs. Multiply that figure by roughly 3 and you're into something that's actually badged up as a Fender, the Prs series Stratocaster, made in Mexico, great guitars, and you know, for £569, you know, it's not bad for something that you can legitimately call a Fender Stratocaster. And then take the £569 that you pay for one of these and multiply again, not quite by 3, it's 2 point something or other, let's call it 2.5, and you get the USA full-fat American Professional Stratocaster. So, it seems that the differential from the bottom rung of the ladder to the middle rung of the ladder to the top rung of the ladder is about 2.5 or 3, a factor of, you know, kind of that multiplication as you move up the range. Let's now look at PRS, entry-level PRS S Custom 24, the SE model, is going to cost you about $799, let's call it £800. Multiply that roughly by 2, and you're into something that's made in the USA, and you know, it's the S2 range Custom 24. And then multiply that roughly by 2, and you're into the PRS Core Line Custom 24, the full fat model, as it were. You know, so once again, with PRS, it's roughly doubling each time. You want to move up a rung of the ladder from 800 to 1700, and then double that and you're up to, you know, kind of 3,000 plus change, basically. Moving on to Epiphone. This is the Epiphone Les Paul I've chosen as the example we're looking at here. The Epiphone Les Paul Classic in Worn Heritage Cherry Sunburst. I do like this guitar. I like the fact that it's an honest guitar. You've got a plain maple top there, rather than just, you know, kind of bunging a veneer over it to make it look like it's got, you know, a book-matched flamed maple top, you know, which is nothing wrong with veneers, but this is just a little bit more kind of honest about what is going on. And one of these will cost you £379. And here's the thing, if you want to move up to what is arguably Gibson's mid-range series of guitars, then you're going to be looking at a Les Paul Studio. And that, the differential between $379 for the this Epiphone and $1349 for this Gibson Les Paul Studio, that is the biggest differential that we are seeing here. It is 3.5 times roughly the price of the Epiphone. And then strangely, when we take the leap from the Les Paul Studio, the mid-range, if you like, in the Gibson stable, up to the full-fat Gibson Les Paul standard, it is a much lower differential. Okay, it's only, and I'm just looking at my calculations here, 1.6 times the price. So, you know, with Squier, to go to made in Mexico Fender, it's roughly 3 times the price, and then to go from the made in Mexico Fender to the American Fender, it's 2.5 something times the price. So roughly, you know, kind of evenly distributed factors of multiplication there. Then with PRS, to go from the SE to the S2 range, you're roughly doubling the price, and then to go from the S2 to the core range, you're again roughly doubling the price. And as I say, when we get to the difference between the entry level in the Gibson stable, you know, the Epiphones basically, to go from that kind of guitar to the mid-range, it is a whopping 3.5 times factor of multiplication. And then, you know, the final rung on the ladder is only 1.6 times the price. It doesn't seem, to my calculations at least, that the rungs on Gibson stroke Epiphone's ladder are particularly evenly spaced. See what I mean? That leap in price from Epiphone to the bottom rung of the Gibson ladder, the cheapest kind of guitars that you can get that actually have a Gibson headstock shape and a Gibson badge on them, that is a bigger leap than with either Fender or PRS. Now, I think the reason for this is probably because, in the case of Fender, their mid-priced guitars, their middle kind of tier of guitars, you know, what are these days? The Player series, I guess. They're made in an offshore factory. Well, in Mexico. They're not made in the US. That's the point I'm making. And with the PRS S2 range, yeah, sure, they are made in the same factory in the US as the core range of guitars. But many of the parts on those S2 guitars come from the factory that makes the, or the factories, because I think there's more than one now, isn't there? There's Cortec, and are they still using World Musical Instruments? Anyway, some of the parts on those S2 US-built guitars come from Korea, is the point I'm making, and that helps to keep the costs down. And I just wonder whether Gibson should be taking a leaf out of Fender and PRS's books. You know, maybe have, you know, a sub £1,000 Les Paul. That'd be a cool idea, wouldn't it? You know, if you could go into a guitar dealership and buy a Les Paul, a Gibson Les Paul, not an Epiphone, just a pucker Gibson Les Paul that is, you know, for less than that psychological barrier of £1,000, I think that would be a big seller, and they could do it by, you know, opening a factory in Mexico, for example, you know. And there are people who say that, oh yes, but this would, you know, kind of diminish the appeal of the USA built guitars. Well, it hasn't done that for Fender. If you could buy, you know, kind of something that was a Gibson Les Paul, looked like a Gibson Les Paul, played like one, had Gibson Les Paul written on it with a proper Gibson headstock shape, you know, for less than £1,000, then that might mean that, you know, you could save the really fancy stuff and the really expensive stuff for the US built stuff, and might kind of increase the appeal of those guitars. It's just a thought, that's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to say that this is something that Gibson needs to do, or that, you know, Gibson should do this. It just strikes me as odd that they don't, and there must be a good reason for it, but maybe, you know, maybe you could tell me, but I can't figure out what that reason is. As I say, if Gibson were to make a guitar, you know, badged up as a Gibson, either partially or wholly outside the US, then it might just do them a bit of good. What do you think? Let me know. And with that, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video. And if you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not give me a like while you're at it? And yes, I hope you've all had a fantastic Christmas, and I'm continuing to have mine because it's, as I say, I'm doing this video in advance. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.